All right, so this is the DB podcast, the Dark Podcast. When you gaze into the abyss gazes back into you, and within the darkness, the light shines. All right, so read the screen. All right, cool. So in Stranger Things, what they're using to create those portals is basically called a hydraulic accelerator. If you ever heard of a particle accelerator, that's the exact same thing. So the way that it works is that it uses a different phase of matter, and it shifts one phase of matter into another phase of matter. And when you speed up the phase of matter as it's shifting, portals can basically be activated, and then that's when you have. That's why it's referred to as well as a particle accelerator, because the particles of matter are beginning to basically go from being dispersed to condensed so quickly that it's activating a portal. So when hydrogen is a condensed state of matter, right? So when it's dispersed enough to like basically think about it like a water ball, a ball of water. So it goes out, but then it goes right back in. So it's condensing, and then it's dispersing, condensing, and then dispersing. When you do that fast enough, it creates like an orb, due to electromagnetic frequencies and shit. But when you use electricity and magnetism, the same way that chakras basically work is the same way that portals work, because in the sense that, I mean, they're of the same origin. The difference is that the portal doesn't have to have a soul. It just has to be spiritually kind of activated, meaning that the electrical charge must be intense enough for the fluid to form into a different phase of matter, and that different phase of matter allows one to kind of access the dimensions within that phase of matter. So whatever can exist within the dimensions of that phase, of whichever that liquid phase is in, as mortals might put it, it's how they're able to kind of access the dimensions that exist within, the mind, which is the liquid, known as hydrogen. Hydrogen is a form of water, which is just a higher density of water, as Mornos put it. And a higher density of hydrogen, once again, is plasma. So, and plasma is just electromagnetic fluid. Okay, water. That's literally what it is. Okay, but when it's just hydrogen, it's just electrocuted, like it's just electrically activated, like how you put it, it's electrically charged, like it's just a charged state of electric or matter. And then if it's water, which is also hydrogen, okay, it's also in this hydrogen state. Now it still has an electrical charge, but when you're referring to it just purely, but when it's more condensed, the electrical charge has a magnetic charge as well. So hydrogen and water is the same thing, but that's why you hear a lot of, if you even tuned in to the information within the within cosmic intelligence, you would know that there's a lot of portals that can be created using water, which is why you have hydropower. Okay, hydraulics. So if you know anything about hydraulics, when a phase of matter is condensed and there's enough pressure, basically what happens is the power, it's able to basically create a charge, an electrical charge, and that electrical charge powers the mechanical components of something, which is where hydroelectricity comes from. Hydro engines, how hydro engines are created, like, and how hydraulics are used to, basically, for jets and for fuel, as mortals might put it. But it's also the same components for particles and hydrogen accelerators, which are basically just, which is once again just fluid just moving at a deeper vibration and frequency and tone. and it creates a radioactive charge due to the amount of pressure that's being built up, and that pressure is called spiritual energy, meaning that it's electrically charged, to the point of which it basically begins to phase into a different form. It mutates into a different form of matter, and a different phase of matter, and that would be known as density to mortals. So it can go from the third to the fourth to the fifth, and see how that works. So between the third and the fifth, between the third and the fourth dimension, when hydrogen reaches a plasmic state of matter to the point where it begins to form, like it begins to crystallize, but it's still in a liquid state. What happens is that is basically the phase of matter in which fourth dimension and third dimension crosses. Chemicals within the brain, like DMT and what is it called, melatonin and shit, is how basically mortals are able to use their minds to dream and shit, right? And those gamma radiation, alpha, beta, stuff, those chemical states within the brain, those brain waves going on within the temple, within the dome of the temple, is an indication of a different set of consciousness being accessed by mortals, for example, right? So that is basically a representation of how fluids are the gateway from what mortals refer to as the physical realm to the spiritual realm, which is the etheric realm, the realm of thinking, or what they refer to as the realm of thought, which is the fourth dimension. So because hydrogen moving at what they refer to as a higher vibration, frequency, and tone, and radiating as much pressure and spiritual energy, aka electrically charged, to the point of a pressure point. That way it creates, unlimited amount of resource of power, which is why dams are built. Okay, artificial ones, so-called man-made dams. Obviously, we're the ones who created it. They just patent the shit and fucking copyright it. Is how they're able to kind of cross from the third to the fourth, and vice versa. So after being possessed, they were provided with this technology, and mortals think they created it, because the ones that aren't possessed, they're like, well, how the fuck did we advance society so much if we didn't fucking build anything, if we weren't fucking smart? Well, no, you're not fucking smart. You're just being manipulated by forces that aren't from this dimension. So obviously you would think that someone who looks like you created something that advanced. No, they didn't. They stole that from someone else. That person gave it to them thinking that it was going to help them in return anyways, and it didn't. And now they have the ability to kind of jump between dimensions and shit by activating portals using hydrogen fluid particles, basically condensing it to a state of matter in which it's crystallized just enough, and then speeding it up so it has enough of a charge that it begins to combust. Basically, light, a light phase of matter is basically not created, but forms or manifests from darkness, meaning it appears that there is a void of darkness, a void, or a portal just being manifested out of nowhere. But no, it's not. It's literally just particles condensed to the point of where it's between a fluid, like a liquid state, and a plasmic state, and then that's how they're able to kind of cross between dimensions, and stuff like that. So it would be liquid and gas built up to the point where it's almost plasmic, and then but it's at a shallower state of plasma. So it kind of like it's all three at once, and then the portal forms or formulates.